Alright, good morning. I hope you enjoyed the little sequence I recently shot with the DJI Pocket 3 while traveling around with my friend in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Now let me share with you whether I think it's still worth buying this camera in 2025, especially in the USA, since the price has been increased from $520 to $800. But before I start, I do want to mention something because I know a lot of you are going to ask this. I color graded everything in this video with DaVinci Resolve using the Hunser's film emulation plugin. If you want to check out the Hunser, I'm going to leave a link for it down below with a 10% discount code on all the Hunser's products. With that said, let's start. So just to keep it as simple as possible, I would say if you are in the USA, for $800, this camera is a bit too pricey in my personal opinion, because at this price, you can almost get a good entry-level mirrorless camera, and these cameras perform much better in terms of like image quality. They are more customizable. You can change the focal length, you can customize the settings and stuff like that. Personally, if I was in the USA for $800, I would not buy this. If I would need a pocket camera, I would get something like an action camera, like DJI Action 4, Action 5 Pro, GoPro, or even Insta360, because these cameras deliver 85% of the image quality results that this camera delivers, but at a much cheaper price point. But of course, they lack in terms of like stabilization performance, because this is a mini gimbal, and it's going to be very applicable to those of you who use ND filters, because once you lower the shutter speed on an action camera, the stabilization performance is going to degrade significantly, whereas with something like this, it doesn't really matter because it's a mechanical gimbal. So $800 for this, brand new, is a bit too much. I would personally get an action camera, or maybe even just use an iPhone, because iPhones these days are amazing, especially Apolog, and you can buy a mini gimbal for that and more or less get the same results as from the Pocket 3. Now, for the rest of the world, where the price has not been increased, at least as far as I know, this camera is still the best vlogging YouTube compact camera out there. For $500 to $600, depending where you're buying it from, nothing can really compete with it. I mean, you have an action camera, and I've mentioned already the downsides of that compared to something like this. It's only better in terms of like ruggedness. An action camera is more rugged. You can also replace the battery and stuff like that, but I care about image quality and stabilization performance, and this one is much better. Then you have like a point-and-shoot camera. These cameras are significantly more expensive. They do have better image quality than something like this. And when I'm saying point-and-shoot cameras, I mean something like Sony ZV-1 Mark II or Canon G7X and stuff like that. So these cameras do have better image quality, but in terms of stabilization performance, this pocket camera is much better, and it is significantly cheaper than like a point-and-shoot camera. And now if I compare this to something like an iPhone, I much prefer Apolog than D-Log-M for color grading. So if you love color grading like myself, you would enjoy Apolog much more than D-Log-M. Although D-Log-M is not bad, just Apolog is a bit better. But if you want something like an all-in-one package, basically, where you have like a selfie screen to monitor yourself, here you don't have a selfie screen if you're using the rear camera. You also have great stabilization performance, much better than on the iPhone. With the iPhone, you'll have to buy a separate gimbal, and you just want like a simple device just to film videos, because an iPhone is like a multi-purpose device. You can do so many things with it, and in some cases it can distract you from actually getting good footage, whereas here it's just a camera and that's it. It's very simple to use. This is a bit more complex. If I was not making videos about cameras though, I would probably just keep my iPhone and my mirrorless camera, and it's only because I much prefer using Apolog than D-Log-M. But if you want, like I said, an all-in-one package, everything works right away, it's simple to use, good stabilization, selfie screen, good image quality, and fair price if you're not buying it from the US, this camera is still amazing in my opinion. So to summarize, is this camera worth buying in 2025? I would say yes, if you can get it for the same price as how it was when it was released, basically for $520, unlike how it is now in the USA for $800. I think $800 is a bit too steep, even for such a great camera as this, but for $500, this is still the best camera out there, even in 2025. Basically, like I said, it has no competition. An action camera cannot really compete with this camera because of the image quality and stabilization performance. A point-and-shoot camera has better image quality, but stabilization performance is lacking. working. And an iPhone is great, Apple log is fantastic, but you don't have a selfie screen. The stabilization performance is not the same, and it's not as easy to use as something like this. So I would still recommend buying this camera even in 2025. So thank you for watching. Go and check out the answer down below. Also my LUTs, my power grades for DaVinci Resolve. And I guess I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.